So let's talk about that. That's what founder delusion, or this situation. I don't know. Has anybody had a situation where one of us went out to a meeting with a customer and came back and said we've got to change the strategy? Anybody? Never happened? I'm the only one. So that kind of thing, which is kind of like a whiplash situation, is like a delusion. This is, one more feature and we'll actually have cracked this nut, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the best sort of antidotes, whether you're a founder, and the founder's like we should talk about that too. So founder's like a PM on steroids in the sense that they kind of get what they want, whereas you've got to try and get some sort of, you've got to get the confirmation bias out of the process in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what have you seen as good antidotes to that kind of?
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot because I have been in situations where we didn't evolve as quickly as we should have because we were getting just enough signal that things, that our perception of the world was true when it wasn't 100% true. One of the antidotes would be, I think, having an idea who are the people that will call bullshit on you. And as a founder or as a leader of a company that is going through rapid growth, you're projecting that vision consistently. Your job is to project that vision consistently to get people to believe it so that it's more likely to come true. So you're pushing this on employees, on customers, on suppliers, on your board, and you're selling to all the people around you on the vision of what you're creating. And I think the best entrepreneurs, and certainly the best teams, have a kind of private backstage where you can have a very honest conversation about how things are going. We were just talking today about psychological safety in teams. I think a lot of boards don't have that psychological safety because the 3 or 4 board members, they just don't know each other that well. They came in different rounds, their incentives are slightly different. They're all famous, they know each other, from reputation. And so the board meeting doesn't end up being the place where you can have those really honest conversations because everybody's on stage. So there needs to be some kind of backstage mechanism where either there's a couple board members that you feel safe with and you can share the real deal of what's going on and you can use them as a sounding board. It could be a subset of your executive team. It could be just the 2 co-founders and the CEO. It could be different configurations of people that can drop the reality distortion and talk honestly about the problems that the business is having.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing that there's this kind of thing with founders or even CEOs whereby you've always got to have your game face on.
Yeah.
And that instead of that being a role that's played in, say, a customer environment, it becomes a habit in front of your staff as well too. So your team is, and there's a sort of a sense that what you want to be able to do is keep people motivated and in the right direction, but at the same time you want to show that there's enough interest in an idea that could come from anywhere in the team. So how do you get that balance right when you're, okay, sure, you've just mentioned where you can have the back room heart to hearts, but having that sort of ability to listen out in the broader team. What's your kind of feelings or experience in that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's
sort of a curse of too much vision.
I think sometimes having a mix of co-founders or leaders is helpful. So for example, I remember one of my CEOs, West, was a consummate, well, I guess we were all optimistic, but he was a consummate always be selling. And so he was the one who was always selling and not listening to some degree. That allowed some of us to play another role, which was be more of the listener and be able to hear some more of the challenges that we were getting from people who are engaged directly with customers or with technology and so forth, and be able to bring that intelligence back to our leadership meetings to be able to shape our decision making. And I thought Wes was very receptive to the input and feedback. And it's just a balancing act. And so a team can play that balancing act.